Morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are here at the Ichuka Cemetery, and then we are about to start the ceremony of the funeral here in the cemetery of Ichuka. This is now the area where the casket will be buried there under. It's the family.
Because we can place those on top, those ones that are on top. If I remove those, we can use the table. Oh, you mean, you take one and do that in, and then we put them back on.
Thank you for joining us as we gather here together at the Echuca Cemetery to honour a life and to mourn a death. Today we've come together to remember and to celebrate the wonderful life of Pamela Stevenson, known to all as Pam, Mum or Nanny. I thank the family for the honour of sharing their stories and memories of Pam with me and to lead this service on their behalf. And I would like to thank all that are gathered today for taking the time to come together to show your love and respect for Pam and her family and to express your gratitude and thankfulness for having known this wonderful woman. Our sympathy is extended to Pam's family, her children and their partners, Peter and Pushpa, Andrew and Kylie, Lynette and Keith, and also her two grandchildren, Dylan and Jessie, whom she was so proud of. They were the apple of her eye. Our love is also sent to her extended family and close friends. Time stands still for just a moment as we acknowledge that someone has touched our lives, has left an imprint on our hearts, and that our souls are eternally changed. A loving mum devoted to all her family, but also her community. She would do anything for anyone, and the family tell me that she would lovingly feed the troops when anyone dropped in to visit. Not only would she feed them, but she would send them on their way with homemade jams and chutneys, as well as beautiful fruit from her home garden. What she had, she would share. I'd like to invite Pam's son up to share his sister Lynette's thoughts as she can't be with us today, and to share his loving thoughts of his mum. Thanks, Peter.
For those that don't know, I'm Peter Stevenson, Pam's oldest. And Lynn sent me through about a dozen of her memories that she listed down, that she wanted to share some of her precious memories. And she starts off, she remembers the day she was left playing on the trampoline after a day out on the lake. I think she fell off because then she wrote books. Another time she recalls coming back from Mainton Goon in the little Suzuki. We're out from gathering wood. Peter was driving, and the dog and Lynette sitting on Mum's knee, all squashed in the little Suzuki. She recalls fondly Mum opening my blinds and waking me to tell me the black boy rose growing through the cherry blossom had bloomed. It was beautiful. She remembers Mum driving back from Alexandra in the blue Datsun, and a very big kangaroo jumped out right in front of them. They missed it, but it was very close. Keith and I visiting Mum, insisting we try some of her evaporated 40-year-old wine. It was yuck, it was vinegar. Mum floating in the lake or the pool, she could have floated forever. Keith and I taking a dog, Tiger, down to the pondage. That dog could have swam forever. Mum and Goldie, another dog. What else do we call a golden Labrador? Mum's cherished garden, weeds and all. Lynn recalls, I think this must have been several times, waking Mum up at some unforsaken hour on coming home from the pub to have a chat and give her her cup of tea. Bless her cotton socks. She always listened and drank the tea. Mum's pantry, well stocked, but checked the due by date. And coming home from visiting grandparents, Peter and Andrew asleep in the back while I chatted on non-stop with Mum to try and keep her awake. I probably bored her to death with stories of Willy Wonka's and the Chocolate Factory. Lastly, Lynn says, the fob watch Mum gave me in 1986 on completing my nursing. It's a treasured piece and has not missed a beat and still being used today. Thank you, Mum. We'll miss you terribly. Love you, Lynn and Keith. Thank you. I'll just give you a quick synopsis of significant events that I felt shaped Pam's life. Obviously the first one was when she was born, the 11th of July 1931, and she really won the lottery with parents Gary and Winifred Maddock.
Mm-hmm.
The next significant event was the marriage, 1954, 1st of May 1954. Pam was 23 years of age and she married Ron Stevenson, a pharmacist from St Kilda. And Pam, after the marriage, moved from Echuca to Benalla and then on to Eildon, which was home for the next 65 years. Pam became a grandmother. 2 grandsons, Dylan and Jesse. They gave Pam a new phase of life as a nanny. She was proud as punch of the boys. She was tickle pink. There was a bit of a hiccup with marriage woes and Ron's death. Pam was now a single parent with 3 kids and a sole provider. Difficult times, but Pam shone through and developed great resilience and strength that she carried right to the end of her life. Lynn and Keith's wedding. After patiently waiting for ages, Lynn's wedding in Judbury gave her great pleasure. She never thought it would happen. And then the last big event, I think, was the accident where she fell, suffered a badly broken leg, where she was in a Bendigo hospital and then Walkerella Lodge, and she didn't live at home at Eildon again. Now I just want to have a little bit more to add here and just go a little bit more detail with the early years in Pam's life. Pam was born, raised and educated at Echuca. Loving parents Gary and Winifred, who remained an inspiration throughout Pam's life. They lived by example to a high set of values which provided guidance through good and tough times. Pam was the youngest of 4 siblings, Gar, Joyce, Heather and Tony. During the 1930s and 40s, childhood was a happy and active time for Pam. She enjoyed outdoor activities and sports, tennis, netball, loved swimming at the pontoon, and fondly recounted fishing trips to Frankston, fishing for flathead in Uncle Bert's boat.
Mm-hmm.
Pam had an early introduction to motor cars and driving. Pam finished high school and worked for her father at Maddox Garage. And she was in good company there with Uncle Lionel and the 2 brothers, Gar and Tony. She loved the time there. It was a grounding that made Pam adept at many things that served her well throughout her long life. At the garage, Pam was really a factotum. She did a bit of everything. And it also meant doing the parts pickups for motor spares, moving cars around and refuelling them. The local police sergeant knew Pam, and he came in one day and said, "You better come down and get your licence. We know you can drive." That was Pam's test. The sergeant's confidence in Pam's driving was well founded, as she then spent over 70 years on the road. She had no tickets, none that she told us about anyway, and only one accident, and that was with a kangaroo. I'm pretty sure Tony taught her to drive. He did a pretty good job. Pam was introduced also to boating by her father on Garrawa, a 26-foot boat he built, supervised by Pam. Pam often recounted going into the forest with Dad, selecting timber grown to certain bent shapes needed for a particular part of the boat. She always remembered how Gary got ill with lead poisoning. It turned out to be because he was painting the timbers on the boat with the red lead paint. Jump to the middle years. At age 23, as I said before, Pam married Ron Stevenson. They set up house in Benalla. They had one child. As a wedding present, her dad gave them a car, an Austin 1830. He was a very kind and generous man. That was new. Big deal. After 2 years, they moved to Eildon, and they bought the Eildon Pharmacy. And I believe that was with financial help from her dad. So there was a great deal of generosity by her father. And Pam never forgot that. They had 2 more children, Andrew and Lynette. Unfortunately, Lynn can't be here today. But there was now 5 in the family, and 5 in the A30, because it was a very tiny car, was a squeeze. So they swapped that, or upgraded that, to an Austin Lancer, also bought from Maddox Garage. Life was pretty good. Ron ran the dispensary, and Pam did the administration, the accounts, deliveries, and the stock runs to Melbourne. On the weekends, summer Sundays were spent swimming or skiing on the lake, which suited Pam fine, as she was a keen swimmer and became an accomplished slalom skier, and often pressed into service driving the ski boat. Days on the lake always included a barbecue on the water's edge. It was of chops in a bit of bread. Chops were, I think, pretty cheap then. In the winter, when there was snow on the hills, they rugged up and pulled out the wooden snow skis that were made by Ron, and Pam provided the knitted mittens, beanies and scarves. Ron and Pam were pioneers in snow skiing at Mount Talbot near Eildon, but it never really took on, as generally does it. The snow was hard to find. In the early 1970s, Pam suffered a big setback. The marriage faltered and Ron moved to Mildura, buying a pharmacy there. He died a couple of years later in a motorcycle accident. Pam was now thrust into being a single parent and sole provider with 3 kids still at home. She dug deep, showed great resilience and strength to overcome the challenges and maintain a secure home life for us. Pam was a well-respected local, soon found work as a cashier at the butcher shop, then as a receptionist at the surgery for a long time. When that finally closed, she took up work as a bookkeeper for a local houseboat factory. Even when working, Pam was a terrific provider. We never went hungry. There was always some tasty treats in the oven. I opened a bottle of cloves the other day, and just the aroma, it took me straight back to Pam's kitchen, because she made a mouth-watering apple pie. Short crust pastry, piled high with homegrown Granny Smiths, spiced with numerous cloves. It looked good, tasted great, and it was very aromatic. Another of Pam's specials was a pineapple fruit cake. It was super tasty and aromatic straight out of the oven. It was a very special treat, something to look forward to. Coming home one afternoon, I found that Roy Lopez, a family friend and Andrew's boss, had called in for afternoon tea just as the cake came out of the oven. Pam offered him a piece for afternoon tea. Roy liked it so much, He didn't stop till he ate the whole thing. The only thing left was the aroma and a big pile of crumbs. And we never let Roy down from that one. He paid dearly for his enjoyment of that cake. When Pam first moved to Eildon, the yard was bare. The yard was bare, no plants at all. Over the next 65 years at Eildon, in the same house, Pam planted it out to bursting point. It was best described as an informal cottage-style jungle. It was an eclectic collection of plants that in most cases she'd propagated. It was an ongoing project, and she had about 100 pot plants ready to be given away as gifts or waiting for an empty space in a garden. That garden gave Pam a lot of pleasure. It was for the floral display and for food. There was quite a bit there, and when I made the list, I was surprised how many she grew, what she grew. There was plums, apples, passion fruit, apricot, loquat, raspberries, blackberries, and probably a few more. Pam didn't let any of it go to waste. She was very productive, cooking up most of the fruit into jams and chutneys. The cupboards were all chock-a-block full. Any of the food that was left over, it was all gone away. It was all given away. She never wanted to see anything go to waste. In her spare time, Pam would be busy knitting or crocheting. She always had a bag of knitting next to her lounge chair. Over the years, she made countless creations: jumpers, beanies, mittens, scarves and blankets, most given away to family, friends and charities. Even in the nursing home, Pam still had the bag of knitting next to her chair. But there, by this time, she struggled to do much with a failing eyesight. However, she persevered and finished crocheting the very last blanket whilst in Walkerella. She was determined to finish it as a gift to Chanta's newborn child. So it was quite a unique production, that one. Sort of was well meant. If there was only one word to describe Pam, it would have to be generous. But of course, you couldn't stop at one word, because she was much more than that. She was caring, resilient and strong. I recall taking Pam with us on a trip to Sydney. We visited a single mother with a young child. They were previously unknown to Pam. Pam instantly wanted to do something for the child. So she gave her a collection of children's books and a blanket. That child, Ash, is now in her 40s, still remembers that kind act, and today still cherishes those books and the blanket. And it continued on because part of Pam's beloved garden is now thriving high up on a balcony in Sydney. The blackboy rose and the lilac that Pam grew, she shared with Ash. And those little bit of that kindness made a huge difference to Ash all the way through her life. Pam was devoted to her family, as we all know, but had a whole new purpose in life once she became a grandmother to Dylan and Jessie. Pam virtually moved back to Echuca to look after the boys, as she spent so much time driving backwards and forth. And I'm pretty sure she even discussed about moving back at that time. She was very proud of her grandsons, and any excuse to go and see them was a good excuse. She'd load the Camry up, put the dog in the back and head over. It was on one of these trips when she had her only motoring accident, a collision with a kangaroo. This was in the hills near Euroa, and she was stranded for hours until help arrived to take Pam to Echuca and put the car on the tow truck. And I think it was either Jessie or Dylan. They were in the lurch. You had to arrange for the taxi, someone to volunteer to go and rescue Pam. It was a good job, big job well done. She appreciated that forever. As a result of this accident, she had to say goodbye to her beloved Camry wagon. And that put an end to her and her old grey dog Tiger driving over the hills at Euroa to Echuca. Pam bought another car but stayed local after that and stayed safe. In the 60s, Pam was diagnosed with glaucoma. This sent her on a long and determined struggle to manage the condition, as she feared losing her sight. After witnessing a brother, Gar, and a father to have failing eyesight through glaucoma, Pam constantly said, "Get your eyes checked," and she repeated this mantra so many times I can still hear it clearly now. We come to the final years. In the last chapter of the book of Pam, she had an unfortunate accident, falling and badly breaking her leg. This resulted in her being in Bendigo Hospital for many, many weeks. After the fall, the tables were turned on Pam, and she became the recipient of care and generosity. The hospital staff there were tremendous, and Chanter and Graham rose to the occasion and kindly visited Pam virtually every day and volunteered to do a washing whilst in the hospital. I thank you both very much for that generosity. It made a big difference to Pam, and she appreciated it very much. After being released from hospital, Pam was unable to go home, and she moved straight into Walkerella Lodge. This was a huge adjustment, losing mobility and independence of living in her own home at Eildon after so many years. But once again, Pam dug deep, and her resilience and strength showed through, allowed her to settle into the new residence at the lodge. Pam took part in all the activities, enjoyed the new social interactions with staff and residents. New friendships were formed, and she really enjoyed having company at mealtimes in the dining room. I thank the staff for the care and dedication for Pam's over 4 years stay. It was a very difficult job done well in very difficult times. It would be remiss of me not to mention Pam's habit of collecting stuff. She hated waste and would try to reuse, repurpose and recycle everything. I found an old book Pam had kept. It's going through her stuff. I think I've still got it if I haven't lost it. This old, well torn, worn book here. Shakespeare's birthday book. And I wondered what on earth was this. I opened up on the inside of the cover. There's a notation there. To dear Pamela, from Mum, 11th of July 1954. So it's a gift from her dear Mum 68 years ago. This is why she had so much stuff. Pam kept it because she treasured it and she still used it. It's in this little book. She's got everyone's birthdays. I often wondered how she remembered all the birthdays. But it's all in a little green book. I can see Grego there. 1954. Garfield. It's all there. So that's why she didn't tuck anything else.
Every year she sent me a birthday
She's
card.
pretty good at sending out cards. She never fails. In the book, a small bit of paper fell out. A small poem penned by Pam. And it really sums her up. This is how she... May every dream you're dreaming, every hope and plan come true. May every day begin and end with happiness for you. It's Pam's big fail. We're always thinking of other people. Finally, just a personal message from Pushpa and me. Dear Mum, thank you for being a wonderful mother and friend over the decades. Now you're in your ancestral home. Rest in peace forevermore.
Thanks so much, Peter. That was beautiful. Upon retiring, Pam enjoyed the company of numerous clubs she was a member of. For example, Provis, Seniors Clubs, and staying active in the Table Tennis Club. Throughout her time, she also worked tirelessly on many committees and community organisations such as the Eildon Hospital and Eildon Nursing Home. If not for volunteers such as Pam, these committees would not be so successful. Pam has worked hard her whole life and lived life to the fullest. She has shown strength, determination, courage, compassion, resourcefulness, and she was very kind. She loved her children and grandchildren with her whole heart They were her life. The family are so lucky to have had Pam in their lives as a mother, mother-in-law and nanny. Now it's her time to rest, but her memory will stay forever in their hearts. I have a poem here called Meet You at the Gate, which we thought was very apt given the garden that Pam kept. A beautiful garden now stands alone, missing the one who nurtured it. But now she is gone, her flowers still bloom and the sun it still shines. But the rain is like teardrops for the one left behind. The weeds lie waiting to take the garden's beauty away, but the beautiful memories of its keeper are in our hearts to stay. She loved every flower, even some that were weeds. So much love she would plant with each little seed. But just like her flowers, she was part of God's plan. So when it was her time, he reached down his hand. He looked through the garden, searching for the best, and that's when he found Pam. It was her time to rest. It was hard for those who loved her to just let her go, but God had a spot in his garden that needed a gentle soul. So when you start missing Pam, remember, if you just wait, when God has a spot in his garden, she will meet you at the gate. Pam's years of living made a difference to everyone here and will continue to do so, as long as each of you remember her in your hearts and carry the lessons of life with you. You are now the representatives and the ambassadors of Pam's 91-year legacy. She gave you wonderful gifts of kindness, humour, strength, ambition and love. She showed you how to live with challenges and struggles and how to survive, always smiling and never complaining. Pam was a hard worker but always just got on with the job. Pam gave to each of you every inch of what she had to offer and wonderful memories to treasure forever. She never held back and always tried to give it her all. You are her future and her memories. Be kind and patient with one another and allow each one of your family to experience grief in the way that fits them best. Pam was an all-round beautiful soul, a determined woman who was highly regarded, admired, loved and cherished by many, and she was an inspiration to others. Although she is not here with us any longer, her love and memory will remain forever in our hearts. Grief never ends, but it changes, and it's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the price we pay for love. There is some validity in accepting that a part of you has gone with Pam, but remember that a part of Pam has stayed with you. Cherish those incredibly special memories that you have, as they will remain with you forever. Pam was a loving grandmother, mother and dear friend, and it has now come time for us to bid her farewell. You were truly fortunate to have her in your lives, and she was treasured by her family, who will miss her dearly. Pam, we thank you for everything that you have brought into this world and everything that you have taken from it. Your kind and generous spirit, your passion and sense of adventure, your love of people and doing what's right, your intellect and ambition, your willingness to have a go at anything, your strength and positive outlook on life. But most of all, Pam, we thank you for your love and commitment to your family, who were always your number one priority. Pam's family and friends are richer for having known and loved her, and will never forget the incredibly generous woman that she was. She will remain in the memories of all that knew her, and we thank her for being exactly who she was and for enriching the lives around her. As we end our ceremony today, I hope you've gained some comfort from being here together. As you return to your work, your homes, and the routines of your daily lives, remember how you felt sharing this moment. Take away with you your own memories of Pam and her place in your lives, in our relationships and friendships, in the work of our hands and minds, and by our example, some essence of Pam remains. So Pam will always be a part of our lives, and in remembering her, you will be paying her the greatest tribute. Time for me to go now. I won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows way up in the sky. In the morning sunrise when all the world is new, just look for me and love me, as you know I loved you. Time for me to leave you. I won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows high up in the sky. In the evening sunset, when all the world is through, just look for me and love me, and I'll be close to you. It won't be forever. The day will come, and then my loving arms will hold you when we meet again. Time for us to part now. We won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows shining in the sky. Every waking moment and all your whole life through, just look for me and love me as you know that I loved you. Just wish me to be near you, and I'll be there with you. At the conclusion of the service today, please join the family for refreshments at the Echuca Hotel. Pam, to honour you, we will get up every day and take a breath and start another day without you in it. To honour you, we will laugh and love with those who knew your smile and your sense of humour. To honour you, we will take the time to appreciate everyone we love, as we know now there is no guarantee of days or hours spent in their presence. To honour you, we will take chances, say what we feel, hold nothing back, be brave, be strong and be pioneers, without fear but with enormous pride. You are our life, our heart and our gift of love. So every day we promise to make a difference, share a smile, live, laugh and love. Pam, you are so dearly loved. You are in our hearts and our minds, and will carry you with us as we move forward with our lives. You leave us with the strength and pride to do what is good and right, and your memory will guide us just as you did when you were by our side. For this we say thank you and goodbye. As we lay you down to rest, we wish you safe travels, Pam. May your journey be peaceful. That concludes our service today, everyone. Thank you for attending, and may you all leave with peace and love in your hearts. If anyone would like a yellow rose from the arrangement there to either take home and keep for yourselves, or if you'd like to place it back on the coffin once it's lowered, you're welcome to do so.
There's others that would like to come forward and invite you to do so. Thank you.
If you look like me, you're making
Yes, and grandchildren. I know. How lucky.
Just a reminder that the family would love you to join them at the Echuca Hotel in High Street. You are, of course, welcome to spend as much time as you would like by the graveside, and there are still going to be flowers there if you so wish. But on behalf of the family, for your kind words and thoughts at a difficult time, thank you.
That's good when you have those books. You've got a record of them.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I remember that photo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
There's lots of friends in there. It's nice to have them.
Everyone so on a wedding day.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Beautiful afternoon. Thank you. Thanks, Pushpa. It's nice to meet you.
Technique. Just do it like that.
I'll turn it off. Start again.
Now the service is end. How do you feel the service, Gregory?
Cold.
Cold?
No, the service. No. That was pleasant. Family. Lots of memories. Beautiful lady. That's enough.
Yes, and beautiful stories. I learned a lot with her stories when she was young until she gets married, and then she married in 1st of May 1954, Gregory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned it.
Same year I was born.
Yeah, before you were born.
Before I was born.
Yeah. All right. See you then. And this is Ging, and behind me is Gregory, and leaving now the Echuca Cemetery after the wonderful service for the funeral service of Auntie Pam. See you then. Bye.